How much should you contribute to a Roth IRA in 2026? The easy answer is the maximum allowed by the IRS. The better answer is the maximum amount you can contribute consistently without weakening the rest of your financial plan. Those are not always the same number. A Roth IRA can be one of the most valuable retirement accounts available because qualified withdrawals can be tax-free. But maximizing the account while carrying expensive credit card debt, missing an employer match, or having no emergency savings can create a financially fragile situation. The goal is not to win a contribution contest. The goal is to build a retirement strategy you can maintain through normal expenses, emergencies, and changes in income. For one investor, the correct amount may be $50 per month. For another, it may be the full annual limit. A third investor may be unable to contribute directly because of the income restrictions and may need to evaluate a different Roth strategy. The contribution amount should reflect income, cash flow, debt, employer benefits, taxes, age, and the investments available inside the account. And contributing is only the first step. Money transferred into a Roth IRA may remain in cash until the investor actually selects an investment. So in this video, we will calculate the official 2026 limits, translate them into monthly targets, and build 3 contribution strategies for different budgets. We will also examine eligibility, contribution timing, spousal Roth IRAs, and the backdoor Roth process for higher earners. The final answer will not be that everyone must maximize the account immediately. It will be a practical framework for deciding how much you can contribute repeatedly and how to increase that amount over time. To build that framework, we first need to understand the official contribution limits for 2026. For 2026, the standard IRA contribution limit is $7,500. Investors who are age 50 or older can contribute an additional catch-up amount, bringing their potential annual total to $8,600. But this limit is shared between traditional and Roth IRAs. It is not $7,500 for a traditional IRA plus another $7,500 for a Roth IRA. Suppose an investor under age 50 contributes $3,000 to a traditional IRA. That person would generally have $4,500 of remaining IRA contribution room for the year. Opening accounts at multiple brokerages does not increase the limit either. The IRS looks at the combined contributions across the investor's IRAs. There is another restriction. The contribution generally cannot exceed the investor's eligible taxable compensation for the year. If someone earns only $4,000 of eligible compensation, that person normally cannot contribute $7,500 simply because that is the annual account limit. For married couples, each spouse needs a separate IRA. A Roth IRA cannot be jointly owned. However, a spouse with little or no compensation may still be able to contribute under the spousal IRA rules when the couple files jointly and has enough combined eligible compensation. These limits define the legal maximum. They do not determine whether maximizing the account is financially appropriate. That decision comes later. Before choosing a strategy, however, it helps to convert the large annual number into smaller amounts that can fit naturally into a monthly or paycheck-based budget. An annual limit of $7,500 can sound intimidating. Dividing it into smaller deposits makes the goal much easier to evaluate. For an investor under age 50, maximizing the Roth IRA in 2026 requires $625 per month. For someone age 50 or older, the $8,600 limit equals approximately $717 per month. An investor paid every 2 weeks could target roughly $288 per paycheck to reach the under 50 limit. A weekly contributor would need approximately $144 per week. These numbers are not recommendations, they are planning targets. The useful question is not whether $625 sounds large or small, it is whether that amount can be automated without creating credit card balances, missed bills, or repeated withdrawals from savings. An investor who cannot contribute the maximum can choose a smaller amount. $100 per month becomes $1,200 per year. $250 per month becomes $3,000 per year. $500 per month becomes $6,000 per year. Missing a contribution early in the year does not eliminate the opportunity. The investor can increase later deposits, make an additional contribution after a bonus, or complete the contribution closer to the applicable tax deadline. The important step is establishing a realistic annual target and tracking progress toward it. Automation can reduce the need to make 12 separate decisions. A scheduled transfer immediately after payday can turn retirement saving into a normal expense rather than something funded only when money happens to remain at the end of the month. But before automating any amount, the investor must confirm eligibility. The Roth IRA has both compensation requirements and income limits, and contributing without checking them can create an excess contribution problem. Direct Roth IRA eligibility begins with taxable compensation. Wages, salaries, commissions, tips, and qualifying self-employment income can generally support an IRA contribution. Investment income by itself normally does not create contribution eligibility. After confirming compensation, the next step is modified adjusted gross income and tax filing status. For 2026, a single investor or head of household can generally make the full direct contribution when modified adjusted gross income is below $153,000. The contribution is gradually reduced between $153,000 and $168,000. At $168,000 or more, a direct Roth IRA contribution is generally unavailable. For married couples filing jointly, the full contribution range extends below $242,000. The contribution is reduced between $242,000 and $252,000. At $252,000 or more, the couple generally cannot contribute directly. Married investors filing separately can face a much more restrictive phase-out when they lived with their spouse during the year. These limits create two practical risks. The first is contributing the full amount early and later discovering that income exceeded the eligibility range. The second is assuming that being above the direct contribution limit means Roth funding is impossible. Higher earners may still evaluate a backdoor Roth strategy, which we will discuss later. People whose income is near the phase-out range may choose to contribute more cautiously, wait until income becomes clearer, or use a provider that can help calculate the reduced limit. Eligibility should be confirmed before the annual contribution is finalized. Once that is done, the next question is whether the Roth IRA deserves the investor's next available dollar or whether another financial priority should come first. A Roth IRA is valuable, but retirement contributions should not be evaluated in isolation. Current financial stability matters too. The first priority is covering essential expenses. Housing, food, insurance, transportation, and minimum debt payments cannot be ignored to maximize a retirement account. The next consideration is emergency savings. Without accessible cash, an unexpected car repair, medical expense, or temporary income loss may force the investor to use a credit card or withdraw money from the Roth IRA. Roth contributions can generally be withdrawn more flexibly than investment earnings, but treating the account as a routine emergency fund weakens its retirement purpose. High-interest debt also deserves attention. Paying down an expensive credit card balance can produce a predictable financial benefit equal to the interest that no longer accumulates. That may be more valuable than increasing an investment contribution while the debt continues growing. The employer retirement match is another major priority. When an employer contributes additional money based on an employee's 401k contribution, failing to capture the available match can mean leaving part of the compensation package unused. This does not mean someone must wait until every financial problem is solved before starting a Roth IRA. A small automatic contribution can build the habit while the investor also improves emergency savings or reduces debt. The mistake is directing every available dollar to the Roth while the rest of the plan becomes fragile. Retirement savings should improve long-term security, not create a short-term cash crisis. After the basic foundation is protected, the investor can decide how the Roth IRA fits alongside the 401k, HSA, and other tax-advantaged accounts. That requires looking at the complete contribution order, rather than treating the Roth IRA as the only retirement option. A useful contribution strategy asks where the next available retirement dollar creates the greatest value. For many employees, the first destination is the workplace plan up to the amount required to receive the full employer match. That match can provide an immediate benefit that the Roth IRA does not reproduce.
After capturing the match, an eligible investor may consider a health savings account. An HSA can offer tax-deductible contributions, tax-deferred growth, and tax-free withdrawals for qualified medical expenses. Its value depends on eligibility, medical needs, plan quality, and the investor's ability to leave part of the account invested. The Roth IRA may come next because it offers tax diversification, broad investment flexibility, and potentially tax-free qualified withdrawals in retirement. It can also be useful for investors who expect their future tax rate to be similar to or higher than the rate they pay today. After funding the Roth IRA, additional workplace plan contributions may help increase the total retirement savings rate, but this sequence is not universal. A 401k with excellent low-cost investments may deserve more money earlier. An investor in a high current tax bracket may prefer additional pre-tax contributions. Someone without HSA eligibility simply removes that step, and an investor carrying high-interest debt may need to redirect part of the available cash before maximizing any retirement account. The point is not to memorize one perfect order. It is to compare employer benefits, taxes, fees, investment choices, and liquidity across the entire financial plan. The Roth IRA should complement the other accounts. It should not compete with them blindly. Once its place in the contribution order has been established, the investor can choose a practical funding level. For most people, that decision fits into one of three categories: starter, strong, or maximum.
The starter strategy is designed for someone who wants to begin without creating pressure on the monthly budget. A contribution between $100 and $150 per month can establish the habit and produce $600 to $1,800 of annual saving. The amount may appear small compared with the IRS limit, but starting early gives the investor something valuable, a system that can be increased later. The strong strategy may involve roughly $250 to $500 per month. That represents $3,000 to $6,000 per year. It meaningfully uses the Roth IRA while leaving room for emergency savings, workplace contributions, debt repayment, and other goals. The maximum strategy requires $625 per month for an investor under age 50. For someone age 50 or older, the monthly target is approximately $717. Maximizing can be reasonable when the investor has stable cash flow, has captured the employer match, has controlled expensive debt, and can contribute without repeatedly reversing the decision. A useful way to move between these levels is automatic escalation. The investor may increase the contribution after a raise, bonus, debt payoff, or reduction in another expense. For example, a contribution can rise by $25 or $50 every few months. This creates progress without requiring an immediate jump from zero to the maximum. Consistency is more valuable than choosing an aggressive amount that must be canceled after 2 months. A smaller contribution sustained for years can be more effective than a maximum contribution made once and then abandoned. After choosing the amount, the next decision is timing. Should the investor contribute the entire amount early, spread it across the year, or wait until income and cash flow become clearer?
An investor with the full contribution available at the beginning of the year may choose an early lump sum contribution. The potential advantage is more time invested inside the Roth IRA. If markets rise during the year, the earlier contribution participates in that growth for longer. But the entire amount also receives immediate market exposure. If prices fall soon after the investment, the investor experiences the decline on the full contribution. Monthly investing spreads the entry points across the year. It matches regular income, reduces the psychological pressure of choosing one perfect date, and makes automation easier. This does not guarantee a better return. It simply creates a disciplined process that many households can sustain more comfortably. Waiting until later in the year can be reasonable for investors with variable income, uncertain Roth eligibility, or large competing expenses. The disadvantage is less time invested and a greater risk of forgetting, running out of cash, or missing the contribution opportunity. A hybrid strategy can combine these approaches. The investor can make a smaller automatic monthly contribution and add extra money after bonuses or strong income months. The correct timing depends less on predicting short-term market returns and more on cash flow reliability. Someone with stable income and sufficient savings may prefer to invest early. Someone paid throughout the year may find monthly automation more practical. A self-employed investor may need flexibility until annual income becomes clearer. The best schedule is not the one that looks mathematically perfect in hindsight. It is the one that allows the investor to complete the planned contribution without creating financial stress. And this practical, flexible approach is central to the kind of retirement analysis we focus on here. If you prefer retirement strategies that consider the complete financial plan instead of repeating max every account as a universal rule, subscribe to Boring Money Wins. A contribution limit is not a personal financial prescription. The correct Roth IRA amount depends on income, employer benefits, taxes, debt, emergency savings, and the investor's ability to remain consistent. Some people should maximize the account. Others should start with $50 per month and increase gradually. A high earner may need a backdoor Roth process, and someone receiving an excellent 401k match may direct the first available retirement dollars there. If this video is helping you build a sustainable contribution plan rather than feel guilty about an arbitrary number, click the like button. That helps YouTube recommend the video to more people looking for practical retirement guidance without overnight wealth promises. The goal is not simply to move money into a Roth IRA. The goal is to turn those contributions into a diversified, long-term investment strategy. That distinction matters because a Roth IRA is an account type, not an investment. Money deposited into the account can remain in cash if the investor does not choose what to buy. Someone can technically maximize the Roth IRA and still leave the entire balance earning very little for years. So after determining how much to contribute and when to contribute it, the next step is making sure the money is actually invested. A Roth IRA is a tax-advantaged container. It can hold cash, certificates of deposit, bonds, funds, stocks, and other permitted investments. When money is transferred from a bank account into the Roth IRA, it may initially arrive as cash. Unless an investment order is placed or an automatic investment plan is active, the contribution can remain there. This is one of the most common Roth IRA mistakes. The investor completes the difficult part by saving the money, but never gives it a long-term investment assignment. The appropriate investment depends on time horizon, risk tolerance, and the role of other accounts. A target date retirement fund can provide a diversified portfolio that gradually changes as the target year approaches. Broad stock and bond index funds can allow the investor to create a simple allocation directly. More experienced investors may use a customized combination of domestic stocks, international stocks, bonds, and cash. The Roth IRA's tax characteristics may make it attractive for investments with greater expected long-term growth, but asset location should still be coordinated across the entire portfolio. The account should not automatically be invested entirely in aggressive assets, simply because withdrawals may eventually be tax-free. Someone approaching retirement may need a different allocation from an investor with 40 years before the money is needed. The key sequence is simple. Contribute the money, confirm that it arrived, select the investments, set up recurring purchases when appropriate, then review the allocation periodically without reacting to every market movement. A contribution creates retirement potential. The investment strategy determines how that potential is used, and the contribution amount and investment allocation should evolve as the investor moves through different stages of life. An investor starting in their 20s may have limited income but a very long time horizon. The priority may be building the habit, capturing the employer match, and increasing contributions as income grows. Even a modest contribution can have decades to compound, although no return is guaranteed. The investor does not need to begin at the maximum for the early start to be valuable. During the mid-career years, income may be higher, but so are the competing demands. Housing, childcare, education, insurance, and other family goals can limit the amount available for retirement. This is often the stage when automatic contribution increases become especially useful. Part of every raise or debt payoff can be redirected toward the Roth IRA. Income eligibility must also be monitored because higher earnings may move the investor into the phase-out range. Investors approaching retirement have less time for contributions to compound, but they may have greater cash flow after major expenses decline. Those age 50 or older can use the catch-up contribution. They should also coordinate the Roth IRA with workplace accounts, Social Security timing, future required distributions, and the desired balance between taxable and tax-free retirement income. Age alone does not determine the investment allocation. The 60-year-old who will not use the Roth IRA for decades may invest differently from someone of the same age who expects to withdraw from it soon. Time horizon, withdrawal plans, and risk capacity matter more than a birthday by itself. The general strategy is to start at a sustainable level, increase the savings rate as financial capacity grows, and adjust the investment risk as the money's purpose becomes clearer. That progression works well for stable salaries, but many households have variable income, and married couples may have only one spouse earning compensation. Those situations require a more flexible contribution plan. Someone with variable income may find the fixed $625 monthly contribution unrealistic. Freelancers, commission-based workers, and business owners can experience significant differences between strong and weak months. A flexible strategy can begin with a smaller automatic base contribution. The investor then adds quarterly or irregular top-up contributions when income exceeds expectations. This maintains the habit without committing the budget to the maximum during a weak period. Keeping a separate tax reserve and emergency fund can also prevent retirement contributions from competing with tax payments or business expenses. Investors near the Roth income phase-out should monitor estimated annual income before finalizing the full contribution. It may be easier to contribute conservatively and add more later than to correct a large excess contribution after the year ends. For married couples, each spouse must have a separate IRA. The contribution limits apply individually. When a couple files jointly and has sufficient combined eligible compensation, a non-working or lower-earning spouse may be able to fund a spousal Roth IRA. This can potentially allow the household to contribute to two separate Roth accounts, even when only one spouse receives most or all of the compensation. However, the couple must still satisfy the income eligibility rules, and total IRA contributions cannot exceed the available eligible compensation. The spousal IRA is not a joint account. It belongs to the spouse whose name is on it. For households with uncertain income, the principle is flexibility. Establish a contribution amount that can survive weaker months. Use extra contributions when cash flow improves. And verify compensation and modified adjusted gross income before completing the annual maximum. For higher income investors who already know that direct contributions are unavailable, the discussion shifts from contribution flexibility to Roth conversion strategy. That is where the backdoor Roth IRA enters the picture. The backdoor Roth IRA is not a special account offered by the IRS. It is a sequence of transactions commonly considered by investors whose income is too high for a direct Roth IRA contribution. The process generally begins with a non-deductible contribution to a traditional IRA. The investor then converts some or all of that traditional IRA balance to a Roth IRA. Roth conversions are not restricted by the direct contribution income limits, but the tax result can be more complicated than the two-step process suggests. The pro rata rule requires the investor to consider eligible pre-tax and after-tax amounts across traditional, SEP, and simple IRAs. The investor generally cannot isolate only the newly contributed after-tax dollars and convert them while ignoring existing pre-tax IRA balances. Suppose most of the investor's combined IRA money is pre-tax. A large portion of the Roth conversion may then be taxable, even if the new traditional IRA contribution itself was non-deductible. Year-end IRA balances can matter for this calculation. Reporting is also important. Form 8606 is generally used to track non-deductible IRA basis and report relevant Roth conversions. Mistakes can cause the same income to be taxed twice, or can leave the investor with an unexpected tax bill. Some employees may be able to move eligible pre-tax IRA money into a workplace retirement plan before completing the strategy, but this depends on the plan's rules and requires careful analysis.
The backdoor Roth can be useful. It is not automatically tax-free, risk-free, or necessary for every high earner. Anyone with existing traditional, SEP, or simple IRA balances should understand the pro rata rule before converting. With direct contributions, spousal contributions, and higher income strategies now covered, we can combine everything into one final 2026 contribution framework. So, how much should you contribute to a Roth IRA? Contribute the maximum amount you can sustain without weakening the rest of your financial plan. For some investors, that will be the full $7,500. For someone age 50 or older, it may be the full $8,600. For others, the correct starting point may be $50, $100, or $250 per month. The first checkpoint is the employer match. Capture the available match when it fits the plan. The second is financial stability. Protect essential expenses, maintain emergency savings, and control high-interest debt. The third is eligibility. Confirm taxable compensation, filing status, and modified adjusted gross income. The fourth is sustainability. Choose an automatic amount that can remain in place during an ordinary month, not only during an unusually good month. The fifth is investment. Do not allow the contribution to remain in cash accidentally. Select an allocation that reflects the time horizon, risk tolerance, and the investor's other retirement accounts. Then, create a plan to increase the contribution. Use raises, bonuses, and completed debt payments as opportunities to move from starter to strong and eventually toward the annual maximum. Review income eligibility before the year is finalized. For married couples, consider whether each spouse can fund a separate IRA. For higher earners, evaluate the backdoor Roth carefully and understand the pro rata rule before converting. The IRS maximum is a ceiling. It is not a command. A retirement strategy becomes stronger when the contribution is sustainable, the money is invested, and the process can continue for many years. Automate the contribution. Invest the deposit. Increase the amount over time. Coordinate the Roth IRA with the rest of the plan, and let boring money win.